Okay. Good morning. Welcome to Unity Longmont Spiritual Center. I'm Dava Money, and we have Christina Hildebrandt with us today to provide music on her harp and another amazing instrument that she will introduce to us. So we'll start with music, please.
Hester says, "But I'm the queen."
Thank you, Christina. It's at this time that we go into prayer together by taking a breath. Beloved presence, everywhere present. We are aware of this presence within us and around us. It is what unites us. It is what enlivens us and guides us. We take a moment to pause and experience it. We take a moment to express our gratitude. It is this presence that reminds us that we are not alone. We are all interconnected. And at times, this presence will guide us in making decisions, comfort us when needed, and always, always love us as we love each other. And so it is, and we will hear from Christina. Christina, thank you for sharing your wonderful gift with us. So soothing and beautiful. Thank you. So I'm curious as to the difference between religious and spiritual. And I invite you to explore what you consider yourself, one or the other or both. The Public Religion Research Institute has been exploring this question for many years. And they came out with their recent results showing that people are leaving churches in droves, and that only 16% of Americans at this time consider their religion the most important thing in their lives. That has changed. And over about 20 years, the number of congregants has been reduced to half. It's a quite big difference. It also found that a third of churchgoers are 65 or older. So the youth does not appear to be taking interest in or supporting these churches in large numbers. So this is true for evangelical faiths, for Christianity. The only ones that seem to be growing are Islam, Baha'i, and Judaism. Many of the people that are leaving religions are doing so because they disagree with their churches around political issues. And we know our country right now is in a lot of turmoil around political divisiveness. And these people, most of these people that are leaving churches, are being drawn to more of a spiritual experience. So what's the difference? 1 in 5 Americans express themselves as spiritual rather than religious. And I invite us to look at unity as a movement in our community. What are we? When we are in the unity movement talking to others unfamiliar with us, we will often say, if you're spiritual but not religious, you may find a home with us. So these folks that are moving towards spirituality believe in something bigger than themselves. And they find it all kinds of places. They find it in spiritual communities. They find it in yoga. They find it in nature and in other spiritual practices. Bishop John Shelby Spong wrote a book called Rescuing the Bible from Fundamentalism. And he has a quote, "We call life good. We look for and find meaning and divinity, not always so much in an external God as in the very depths of our humanity, but it is divinity nonetheless. We discover transcending spirit within ourselves. We have come to the dawning realization that God might not be separate from us, but rather deep within us. The sense of God as the sum of all that is, plus something more." Think about that a moment. Whatever language you use, God, divinity, spirit, universe, where do you find that? Where do you experience that? So you might also consider, what has your journey been like? When you were a young child, were you exposed to any belief system? What did you believe? As you became an adolescent and your brain grew and your world grew, what were your beliefs as a young adult, perhaps as middle-aged? And if you're a senior now, what are your beliefs? So religion refers to a set of organized practices and a structured belief system that is shared by the members of that institution. And those beliefs come from the institutions. Those beliefs often come from scriptures or other holy works interpreted by the leaders of those institutions. They have creeds, they have rules, they have a belief of how to live your life. Religions can be extremely supportive communities, extremely supportive of each other. They may even have certain dress codes. What do you wear to church? And dress codes between members of the leadership too. There may be robes, etc. There are moral codes telling the people what is right and what is wrong, and what actions are allowed or which are forbidden. And so a religious person commits to following these things in their religion and to observe the rituals. So what is spirituality? Spirituality is about one's soul and inner self. So you feel the shift, the difference there. It is holding a personal set of beliefs and practices and searching for the purpose in life. And these beliefs can shift and change in a person's life because the beliefs come from that person's experience with life. And again, you can be religious and spiritual together. So some of the beliefs come from personal study and self-reflection. And in unity, we call that self-awareness. And there is a sense that with the practices of spirituality, we can better deal with life's challenges and connect with something greater than just ourselves. It's a universal, personalized experience, and everyone's experience is unique. It's often felt as sacred or transcendent, something bigger than the self. And there's a liveliness and aliveness that comes with it, and a sense of interconnection with all that is, and gratitude. Neither religion nor spirituality is good or bad. It depends on what the group or the person makes of it. Spirituality is more abstract, a little harder perhaps to define. Religion has a code of ethics that's very, very clear. The purpose of each is to help people have a happy life. Here are some of the differences. Spirituality can be a solitary experience. You know, you're walking in the woods, you're playing with your dog, you're watching a child, and all of a sudden there is this wonderful, full sense of transcendence and an awareness that we're connected. And one of the differences between spirituality and religion is most spiritual people see love as the essence that connects everything. So these experiences shape the character, the motivation, the actions of the spiritual person. There are different religions in the world, and one thing they have in common is each one believes their story is the true story. In spirituality, the story is of our own experience. So that story is part of what holds people together in a religion. Spirituality focuses more on the quality of the message than the actual story. So Christians focus on Moses and the Ten Commandments, and they come out with, these are the laws, these are the ways to live. Someone spiritual might look at that story and see something maybe even broader. This is guidance. These are things that we may want to adopt. And what is there about Moses and his access to that divinity that we have also? Another piece is spirituality sees all humans as essentially the same. So age, gender, race, that doesn't differentiate people in a deep and meaningful way. Because again, the essence of each person is love. And everyone shares the same consciousness, which can be expanded, which can be lifted, which can be grown. So again, a spiritual person's beliefs might alter and change as they go through life. Whereas in religion, the beliefs stay the same. The beliefs come from the institution and are believed and adopted by the members of that community. In spirituality, there is the desire and the trust of one's own instinct. Religions will often discard a personal instinct and say, go back to the rules, go back to the way we should do it. So in spirituality, there is a trusting and a cultivation of the inner voice. So truth is sought inside. In religion, the voice is from outside. It's the tradition, it's the rules and regulations. So if we are in a place where we need to make a discernment and we're spiritual, we're going to probably go inside. If we are religious, we may go to someone in that church to look for guidance. And then there's the possibility of doing both and. So some spiritual traditions offer different practices, ways of developing skills and tools to live life, to navigate life with better ease and grace. In many religions, there is a threat of punishment if you don't do it right, a threat of punishment if you're not following the rules, and that punishment is often after you die. In spirituality, there is no punishment. There is a seeking of inner peace and a recognition that we're human and we make mistakes, etc. Not that there's not a right and wrong, but again, everybody comes up with their own definition of right or wrong. And there's often commonality. You know, most spiritual people are going to say it's wrong to kill. There's a focus on the positive from spirituality rather than fear to have people follow the rules. There may be a focus on karma as a principle of consequences. You know, our actions have consequences, and that can be called karma. Not every spiritual practice does focus on that, though. So when you're wondering, when I'm wondering, am I spiritual or am I religious? A question to ask is, whose rules do I follow? How do I know what is right and wrong? Do I look outside myself to learn that? Or do I seek guidance from that inner voice? How have I developed my beliefs? How do I know what's transcendent? Is it through my experiences, or is it through something I have been taught from the outside? A spiritual person in their life may go through trial and error and try a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and see what fits. Spirituality encourages everyone to find their own personal path, to trust their hearts and their minds, and to know that there is a soul that has unlimited potential, that is accessible. Spiritual people often are better able to adjust to new situations because they have this intuition from the soul. So a major difference between religion and spirituality is believing versus being. So there are different types of spirituality. What they have in common is to get in touch with and know the self. There's a mystical spirituality, and that is focused on the intuitional part of the soul. So many experiences in the mystic's life are that of union with the divine. And it's clearly that when it's experienced. Then there's kind of a mix in between called authoritarian spirituality. And that's where there's a hierarchical structure or authority. So groups may join a sangha or a group where there's a teacher, a guru, who suggests different rules. And if they fit this person, then they abide by them. But again, they have to discern if it's a fit. This authoritarian spirituality can become fundamental. And fundamentalists believe that their religion is the only true one. There's no respect for other religions. And in extremes, it can go into radical religious terrorism. And we see that in our world. There's another form of spirituality called intellectual spirituality. And that is that the core piece of value is knowledge. And these people may gain knowledge from reading, from theories, from analyzing the information. So they're really using their minds a lot. Study theology. And their goal is that they want to improve their spirituality intellectually. Another one, which is very common, is service spirituality. And that is providing service to others with no expectation of anything being returned. Another is social spirituality, and we're seeing more of that. And that is when you gather in some kind of group and you have spiritual experiences. And it can be a yoga class, it can be an exercise class, it can be a group walk in nature. But it's this experiencing whatever with other people. So different ways of practicing. There's the path of knowledge where you study different scriptures, etc. And there's the path of devotion. And this is the path that leads you to liberation from the ego. So it might not mean annihilation of the ego, but learning to go past your ego's desires to something more transcendent within. And some of the practices involved in that are chanting and praying and mantras and meditation. There's another one called the path of meditation, and this is currently the most popular spiritual path. In addition to meditation, breathing techniques, asceticism, and teacher relationships are part of that. Then there's the path of energy. And this one is about purification of mind and body. And it involves meditation, breathing, somatic techniques, teacher relationship. And you will often see someone in that path changing their diet, changing their lifestyle, perhaps even changing the connections they have with people. So there is a desire to be as pure as possible. So that's a little bit of information about the differences. Well, we have just been blessed to have a lovely conversation about spirituality and religion. And now we join together to hear Christina Hildebrandt. And tell us, Christina, about this instrument.
This is called a tanpura, Tanpura. That's one way to spell it. It is an classical Indian drone instrument. That makes it look really big, but it's not. It is used often in conjunction with a sitar and a tabla, which, sitar is that big kind of very complicated and beautiful and ancient instrument of Indian classical music, and the tabla is the drum that's got the black circle that's a little off center, and it goes boom, 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 boom. So this provides a sonic backdrop to those instruments. Indian classical concerts are often like 2 hours long or so or more. So it's interesting to think of this person just doing this for 2 hours. But the reason I got this instrument for my sound healing practice is because it creates overtones that are high whistly sounds. And my experience with the human body is that it enjoys both the low, deep crystal bowl or Himalayan bowl sounds. It enjoys the harp. It enjoys the high whistly little. Although Deva, you said that you heard it and you said it sounds like the chanting of monks or something like that. So, let's play it and see how you feel.